Hi there, book lovers! My name is Christina and welcome back to Cozy Novel Niche. Today I'm here with a small book haul of 3 books, but I really wanted to share them with you because first of all I bought them in one of my heart places of the heart. I mean, at the beginning of June I went with one of my best friends and my husband to Lucca in Tuscany. It's a city in Tuscany. It's a beautiful city, a beautiful part of Tuscany that I completely adore. I go there almost once a year if I can do it, and this time we went there because it hosted one of the 2 dates of the concert of Ed Sheeran. I'm an Ed Sheeran fan, and so we wanted to go there and attend, so we were able to go there, and one evening was the event, and then we had a couple more days just to stroll through the city and watch everything around it and go to the sea. It was simply beautiful. And while we were walking around the city, we stopped at this small bookshop that has all the books in English, and it was my first time going there. I've never went there for whatever reason. I don't know why. For sure I will come back there next year or when I will come back to Lucca. And this place was tiny, but chef's kiss. I got there 3 books, as I said before, and 2 of them actually come from my wish list of books. So I'm so happy that I was able to buy them there so that I will have the book and the memory linked to it. And then one more was a book that I've never heard about, but it felt very, very special. So I got it there. So without further ado, let me get to the books. The first one that I have here is a book that was on my wish list for quite a long time, and it's In Other Words by Jhumpa Lahiri. I'm so sorry for the pronunciation. This is a tiny book. It's 230 pages pretty much, but it is so special. This book actually inside is written both in Italian and in English. So we have here the Italian version and on this page the English, and so on. So that's the first aspect that's very, very special. The second thing that is very special is that this book was actually originally written in Italian, and then it was translated not by the author but by a different person who is actually the translator for Elena Ferrante's books, like what was it? My Genial Friend, but you got the idea. So the Napolitan Quartet. And what's even more special is that this book that has been written in Italian is not the main language of the author of this book. So she has written this book in Italian, making a huge effort after living in Italy for some years, but still in a language that was not her own. And all of these things are something that definitely piqued my interest. Because I studied to become an interpreter. Languages is something I'm deeply passionate about. Languages, how the brain works when you're thinking about something in different languages. This is something that I face every day because I live in a country where I daily speak a language that wasn't my mother tongue. I wasn't born speaking Italian. So every time something happens tiny even in my life, I maybe think something in Italian, but then I think what I would have thought if it was in Russian, how I would have reacted if I was thinking in Russian at that moment. All of those thoughts about language just live rent-free in my head 24/7 pretty much. So I'm deeply fascinated with this kind of concept for a book. And what I know about this book is that the author suddenly decided to travel to Italy with her family to Rome with a sort of a trial by fire, and decided to try and write this book in Italian. I'm not sure about the content of this book. I don't know if she will be analyzing the language aspect or just her everyday life here in Italy, but I'm definitely fascinated by the idea of having the Italian version and the English version, and just to compare them and see what are the differences. Because if you only speak one language and you have a second language that you rarely speak, you don't really notice how your brain changes and how your emotions and your way of expressing yourself and even your voice changes when you speak in a different language. This is something that just, I mean, I'm smiling while I'm talking about it. It's something that really deeply makes me passionate. I just want to know more and more about this topic. So I think that this will be a very interesting reading experience. I don't know about the content of the book, but the experience in itself promises to be, again, chef's kiss. So I'm so glad that I was able to get it. I wasn't aware that it was so tiny. I thought that it was a little bit longer, but I'm not complaining here. I mean, it's still full packed. So I definitely will try, and maybe I can vlog something like this book. I mean, since the experience and not the content is the main point for me here, I think that I may try and vlog the experience. I don't know, I will see. It will not be happening very soon, maybe like more in autumn or winter, but I will definitely try and film it. Then the next book that I have is one that I wasn't expecting to get. It wasn't on my radar actually, but since we were in Tuscany and it is set in Tuscany, and it is by an English author, by an English person actually, who lived in Italy, and it was written originally in English, I believe. I mean, I just had to have this book. This book is written by Iris Origo, and it is War in Valdorcia, an Italian war diary from 43 to 44. And this is pretty much everything that you need to know about this book. This is actually the diary, the real experience of Iris Origo, who was an English woman married to an Italian man, and she lived in Valdorcia, which is a part of Tuscany, a very beautiful part of Tuscany. I mean, if you've ever watched The Gladiator, some parts of The Gladiator were filmed in Valdorcia. And the book in itself is the diary covering the years from 1943 to 1944, so we're in the Second World War, and Tuscany ended up kind of squished in between the Nazis forces and the allies who were coming from southern Italy, and she ended up being kind of in between of this war, and she and her husband tried to help people and hide people, and at a certain point they were trying to take care of 32, I think, small children, and how they tried to get by and to save everyone. So this is a first-person experience by someone who isn't a writer, but a simple person who wrote about her experience. So I'm very, very curious to see what's in this book. I mean, Second World War is something that I still feel on a very personal level, because I met my grandparents who lived through the Second World War, so this is something that is still kind of close to me. I remember some things that were told me. I watched tons of movies and read books, so this is a moment in time that I feel really deeply for. Usually it's very impactful and it's really, really emotional. So I just need to be in the right state of mind to read this book, but I think that it will be very interesting. I've never read anything about the Second World War. Watched movies, yes, but I've never read anything about the Second World War here in Italy specifically. So this will be a very interesting take about it. And the last book is something that was on my wish list for quite a long time, but it was the very first time that I've seen this book in a physical bookshop. I've never seen it physically. I've only watched it online, and when I saw it physically, I just had to have it and grab it and take with me home, because it is a beautiful, beautiful edition of The Secret Garden, the annotated version. And these editions, the annotated editions, have a bunch of different classic books in this format. So this square kind of format, and they are beautiful hardcovers. Underneath it looks like this, which is amazing. I mean, it's just so beautiful. Yeah, absolutely worth it. Of course, it's a little bit more on an expensive side, but it's definitely worth it because of the format of the book, how sturdy it is, and the quality of paper and so on. And inside it is The Secret Garden, annotated, as of course the title says, because inside we have all the premise about the author, about the setting, so we have a lot of pages that just explain to you what are you about to read, and then you have the story, the beginning of the story, and inside you have the chapters, and then on the sides you have, in a slightly different font, all of these annotations that explain more about the story, just give you some bits and details, plus there are photos, illustrations all throughout the book, which makes the whole experience, I think, just so much more meaningful and important. And The Secret Garden is a book that I've read when I was a child, and for I don't know what reason, I have this memory of being a little bit afraid of the book. So I really want to reread it and see what unsettled me so much when I was little, and just to reread it as an adult with all of this added content. So I'm so glad that I grabbed this book. I mean, to see it physically was definitely unexpected. So yes, these are the 3 books that I got from Tuscany, Lucca, and I'm so glad about these purchases. They all make me emotional for different reasons, and so I think that it was a great decision to buy them at that moment specifically. So let me know down below if you've read any of these books or if you're planning to read them, and especially if you've ever read this tiny one, because I really want to know about the content of this one, like a little bit spoiler maybe. And I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye! Ciao!